Hello, I'm Corby Skinner, the host of Living Well in Montana. And this particular program is sponsored by LIFTT, which is Living Independently for Today and Tomorrow. We have an office in Billings and in Glendive, but we serve 18 counties across eastern Montana. And today we're not only talking about living well and living independently, but today we have two guests that are going to talk about what it's like going to school and attending a university with some disabilities. So I'd like to introduce first Tanya Thomas, and she is an employee at LIFTT. And Tanya is in charge of the peer mentoring program. And Tanya, I'll have you introduce Lexi.
Thank you, Corby. I would like to introduce one of our peer mentors. This is Lexi Syme. Lexi has been with us for a number of years now, and I'm super excited for her to share her experience. Lexi, why don't you introduce yourself and say hi?
My name is Lexi Syme, and I've been a peer mentor at LIFTT for 7 years now. And it's been a great experience for me. It's taught me a lot. So,
Lexi, Tanya sent me a copy of all the things that you have accomplished. And first, tell us a little bit about your disability and how you decided to go to school and get your degree.
Well, usually I have spastic cerebral palsy. And what that means is that I have like shaking and tremors all through all four limbs. But my mind wasn't affected. So when I was in high school, my junior and senior year, I had a teacher that she was getting her master's, and she told me that I should really think about getting into college and that I would be okay, okay even with my disability to do that. So she really inspired me to go and do the things that I've done.
I think that's so interesting because you must be pretty smart.
I am. I don't like to brag about it, but it's been a huge accomplishment. So I was the first to live up on campus, first to do a lot of things. And I like that for other people that have followed me, because now they have an accessible room, and if they have to ask the housing people for anything, they know how to help and all of that. So that has been a great experience.
Wonderful. Tell us about what major you decided to pursue.
My BS is in psychology. And then if you were to look at my master's degree, it has all the counseling classes. So we had to do a master's of education because there wasn't any way to get around the 600-hour internship for the counseling part. So that's what we had to do there. But it was a great experience.
Tanya, I'm going to ask you a question too, because I think all the people that are watching this program will be inspired to know that people can go to college despite disabilities. Now, Tanya, you were born with congenital blindness. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your life and then your education too?
I was born with a eye disease called retinopathy of prematurity. I was born 3.5 months premature, and what that means basically is just the retina part of my eyes wasn't finished developing. It's a disease that can continue on to total blindness. I've been stable in stage 4 of that disease for several years now. So I'm hoping that my eye health stays stable, but there is the possibility of going totally blind. Growing up, I was never put in any sort of special education. My parents always thought it was really important to mainstream me and keep me in public schools. And what we would do in the younger grades is we would just slow down. Like if she would give the teacher, if the teacher would give us 100 problems, she would give everybody else 100 and she would give me 50. By the time they were done with their 100, I would be done with my 50. So we would come up with little accommodations like that. Actually, I think I had a CCTV magnification reader monitor when I was in 3rd grade. That was my first experience with that. So I had a lot of support as far as the kids were really great to me, which made the school experience easier. They were more curious than they were, put off by, or it was great. As I got into high school, I didn't have much adaptive equipment except maybe large print bound books, textbooks. And then when I got to when I got to college, I was an art major, and that first semester, you have to, of course, draw still lifes, and we weren't sure how we were going to make that work. So how we ended up accommodating for that was we borrowed the monitor from the basketball games, and it literally was just it literally was just a TV monitor with a camera taped to the top of it. And what we would do is I would sit in the back of the room and she would sit the monitor next to me, and I would aim the camera at whatever make my own, make my still life interpretation from what she had set up in the front of the room. So literally we were all getting to draw what was sitting in the front of the room, but only I would look at my monitor instead of the front of the room. So it was
so interesting.
It was a very simple but wonderful adaptation.
Lexi, tell me about what sort of accommodations you needed in terms of attending school.
Well, the first one was we tried to make sure that my classes were later in the day so that my aides could come help me get up and do all of the homes and stuff. And then I would just go to my certain buildings early to make sure I could still get up to the front of the room if possible. If not, I sat in the back. But every semester, what I tried to do was to go talk to my teachers before so that they could see they didn't have to do a whole lot of accommodating. But I let them know that I could do everything as well as everyone else if I just needed accommodations for help. So. And
you attended Montana State University in Billings, is that correct?
Yes.
Did you find the classrooms accommodating, or was there some difficulty?
There was a little bit of difficulty because they have all the desks in one room, and it was hard for me to get to the front. So my teachers, they just basically had me sit in the back, and if there was something I didn't understand, then I could ask questions. I also had students that were note takers for me, so they would come into the disability support office and give them copies of the notes for the day. So.
It's interesting, Lexi. I taught school at MSU Billings. I taught public speaking, and the last semester I was there, of course, was during COVID. Oh, and okay. I still had class, but we all had to separate, and people wore masks, and it was sort of difficult just to teach public speaking when you had to be wearing masks and separated. But I would say you really accomplished a lot to be able to get through school with all the various accommodations that you had to set up for yourself to succeed.
Yeah, my first semester in my undergraduate degree was a little hard. In my math class, my final took 4 hours for me because I have really, really severe test anxiety. So it made me really, really nervous at first, but we got through it and I didn't get killed by the director. She was actually the one helping me with the test. So, and then for like the next math class up, my professor and I came up with the accommodation that I could work with anyone in DSS. It just had to be the same person. And then she could help me any way she wanted, just as long as she didn't give me the answer to the problems. So,
did you feel that while you were going to school, you were also training some of the other people, the teachers and the students, about how they need to be aware of disabilities?
Yes, I had a wonderful professor that I took all of her classes. Her name was Judith McLaughlin. And she was the greatest person because she had a head injury as well. So she understood what it was like to try to get the right accommodations and do all the right things. So I absolutely adored her. But there were some times where professors weren't as understanding. And what I found is sometimes, even if you try, if they're not in the same situation as you are, they just don't get it. And that was frustrating for me. But because I couldn't jump out and let them get my chair and say, okay, now you do it and see how, but everything worked out. And I absolutely loved going to school there, loved going to every class. A lot of the time I didn't class with my professors a whole lot. I had one that didn't like me at all, but not there anymore. So
there are some professors that students don't like very well too.
Yeah. I think for him, what it was is you really can't fit me inside a box. And he kept trying to, and it was like, not gonna work. So, but he's no longer living anymore either.
Yeah. Tanya, did you have similar situations when you were attending school?
I did. I lived on campus for a semester. I lived in the dorms. I took advantage of note takers. I love the note taker feature. I'm not a great note taker. I loved the fact that somebody else could catch information I may have been missing. I also had help taking tests, and I appreciated that because I felt like it leveled the playing field. We had more time, I could take more time. The accommodation was, somebody would read the test to me and fill in the answers, or I would just tell them the answers and they would fill in the test. It kind of made me feel like it kind of leveled the playing field a little bit. So yeah, I did have some of those same things Lexi did.
Lexi, tell me a little bit about your personal care assistant and how they helped you in terms of attending school.
Well, they helped me. I had one in particular. She worked for me for 11 years.
11 years?
Yes.
Wow.
And so she was able to see me through my bachelor's degree and then my master's degree. And she would just get me ready for school. Sometimes she would stay late to ask me the answers for a test, to help me study and all that. She was a great, great lady. And when I went up for my master to get my degree, the school had made one for Elida since she'd been with me so long. And she saw me through this, so they gave her an honorary degree, which was really nice. She wasn't expecting it, neither was I. So.
Oh, I really
I think that's called part of your smarts maybe rubbed off on her.
She always said that, so I wouldn't be surprised. But.
So, Lexi, you also lived on campus for a while, is that correct?
Yes, I lived on campus for about maybe 5.5 years. So, like DSS would ask me to go through doors if they had a new building or different things. It was very, very fun, and it was good for the university because I worked so hard. I was the first to receive the ticket to work in the state. And that day when I came in to do my thing, nobody told me that the media was going to be there. So here I am in the sweats and a sweatshirt, and they're like, "Oh yeah, the media is going to be here too." And I'm like, nobody told me what.
That's okay, Lex. That's okay. Sweatshirt, a hoodie, and all that stuff, that's pretty much college uniform. So
yeah. I just wish my mom would understand that when she saw it on TV that night, she was like, "You look like crap." And I'm like, they didn't tell me, what was I supposed to do? My mom's a hairdresser, so there is kind of her thing.
It's her thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and were you able to participate in school activities?
Yeah, I was. I worked with one of the church communities up there. I was a mentor for her, so I did that for like 3 years, and she paid, the pay was $9 an hour, so that was my first experience, and I really loved it. When I had to give up my key to her office because I was moving off campus, I cried because I didn't want to. I was like, "I'm not going to see you. I don't." And she's like, "You're going to be okay." I'm like, "No, I'm not." Because my friends really do become my family.
I think that's true of a lot of people, that we create our own families. So, Tanya, today we've been talking to Lexi Syme. Is that correct?
Yes.
Syme.
Yes.
A really amazing individual. And this is always terrible to say, but I know that you're aware that when people see people with disabilities, they make assumptions. They assume that, oh, she has cerebral palsy. You can't imagine that she could ever go to school or attend school. And not only has she done that, but she's got her degree and a master's degree.
Yes. I think that's probably the biggest misconception with many physical disabilities, and not all, is they rob your body when your mind is perfectly functional and capable. There's a lot of disabilities that are like that. And like I said, not all, some rob your mind too. But there are a lot of very capable people out there that when your average public might see them would be concerned that they wouldn't be capable, but they really are. Like Lexi said, it's just a matter of making accommodation. Sometimes small changes is all it takes to get through school or anything in life, any task you want to do.
A lot of people assume a personal care assistant would just be someone to help in the home. But in fact, the personal care assistant went to school with her and attended all the classes.
Yes, to be available help right there when she needed her. And I thought it was wonderful that they gave her an honorary degree, because she put in that time, and she was there to hear the lessons, and she was there to help Lexi complete the work and, you know, do the accommodations that Lexi needed. And I thought that was wonderful. I really did.
It's a beautiful story. It really is. Now, does LIFTT help people like Lexi find a personal care assistant?
LIFTT does. So our PCA program is basically what it is self-direct care, which means unlike agency-based care, here at LIFTT, if you have a friend or a relative that you know that you would like to work for you, you get to decide for yourself who your caregiver is going to be. You're their boss. They do timesheets. You submit those timesheets. That's what's so great, is that with self-direct, you can pick your own caregiver. Agency-based is wonderful too. You just don't necessarily always get to pick your caregiver. You don't get that option as much as you would, like maybe with self-direct, your caregiver is a family member or is your best friend. That's what's great about self-direct, is you're in charge, you're the boss, and they're employed by you.
That's very interesting, because certainly we would hope that someone in the family would want to be the caregiver. But I'm sure in many cases, it's a friend, or it may be somebody they don't know, but they get to make the decision about who that is.
Yes, and that's the most important part, is that it's their choice.
The other thing that I want our audiences to know is that Lexi not only finished school, but she is living independently now. Tell us about her living situation.
So Lexi has her own apartment. She has pets. She comes when she's needed at the office. She makes arrangements for rides. She comes in here. She works. She has a social life. She's doing everything that one would want to do, living independently.
And so she actually works at LIFTT.
She does. We had some time recently, of course, because of COVID, where we were not open to the public, but when she's needed at the office, she's called in, she comes to work, does various tasks, and logs her time. So it's, an average day.
And I can't imagine that she's not a fun person to work with. You could tell she has a great sense of humor.
She is. She's very fun. Oftentimes I help her. Maybe if we have a potluck or something around the office, or we're doing something casual or some fun outreach, I help her and get to be her assistant for the hour. And it's really fun. It's enjoyable.
That's so interesting. One of the things that, again, I think a lot of people don't know, that the majority of the people that work at LIFTT have some sort of disability. And because I've been working with you all for a couple of years, I know there's a variety of disabilities. There are people that have maybe a mental problem, a physical problem. It's sort of easy to see what a disability is if you're in a wheelchair, but it's certainly different for different people.
It really is. I think that's probably been the most rewarding thing about working for LIFTT is even me with my disability, I'm learning about, we call them cross disabilities, learning about various disabilities. And it's been wonderful to learn about all those to gain some more insight about how different people living with different disabilities go through their days. You know, the challenges they face, the successes they've had. It's been wonderful to see so much diversity.
The other thing we should let people know is that there's no age barrier. So I know that our Glendive office works with people in grade school getting accommodations made for those students that may have some disability or may need some extra help getting through school. What's the best way to, if someone has a friend or a relative with a disability, what should they do in terms of getting in touch with LIFTT?
So they can call LIFTT's main line, which is 406-259-5181. From the main office, they will have some information taken down so that we can best figure out how to assist them. And then we just kind of go into making a plan for assisting them. So they can also find us online, and we have a fantastic new website at www.lift.org.
So remember, if you are on a computer or near a computer, it's LIFTT with 2 T's, LIFTT.org. And there you will have all the contact information that you need. This new website is remarkable in terms of being state of the art, in terms of what are some of the specialties? I know, Tanya, we put together.
I don't know, it's so pretty. There's wonderful drop-down menus where we've listed the basics of our services so that you can easily find what kind of help is available, what kind of resources are out there. You know, I tell everybody to get in touch with us, whether you're getting in touch with us online through our website, whether you're calling us, even if you're not sure of everything that you might need. We never say no. Even if we can't provide you with something, we'll find you someone who can. We'll direct you to those people. That's what we do. And so I love when people call or people contact us, because they often end up being open to more assistance than they realized was available to them. And they're always generally able to use more resources than they even figured that they needed. And that's wonderful to be able to help somebody that way.
Well, Tanya, thank you so much. I hope that people watch this show and see what an inspiration both you are and certainly Lexi in terms of what can be done with a little bit of help. And we encourage our audience to get a hold of LIFTT and see how they might help you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Corby.
Thank you. This has been Living Well in Montana, a program of LIFTT. Thank you, and we'll see you again.